Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse DC Direct Page Puncher Superman. This is part of the newest Page Puncher wave, which is a Superman-themed wave. Superman here looks like he's a cross between Warhammer 40,000 and DC Comics. I got this guy at Target along with the rest of the wave, so let's take a look at the packaging. In the traditional Page Puncher clamshell package at the top, DC, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, includes exclusive comic book in the English language. DC Direct, Superman. It's a big, bulky, armored Superman, something we haven't seen before. Pretty blank on the two sides. The back, you can see the comic, Ghosts of Krypton #1, with Superman on the front here. And at the bottom, there is the barcode, if that helps. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did pick up the entire Page Puncher wave at Target, including the Platinum Chase variant of Valzad and Brainiac. Another wave checked off the list. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with a display stand, a collector's card, a comic book, Superman Ghosts of Krypton #1, and then a full set of bulky, removable armor. Before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Superman from McFarlane's own comic, Superman Ghosts of Krypton. There's a bunch of Superman-related characters in this, and he has an armored suit, and then even more armor on top of the armored suit. Kind of reminds me of something from Warhammer, big and exaggerated. It screams Todd McFarlane designed. So let's take a look. Starting with his face here, he's got this breathing apparatus on there. Looks like he has a scar going across the face. We'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. Big, bulky shoulder pads, spikes sticking all over him. Got sort of the face of a monster or something on the side. Either one there. Maybe that's something he slayed. Does have the Superman logo here, and it has a little bit of weathering and wear to it. See it sort of bolted down to the sides. The sculpt is absolutely phenomenal on this guy. Very intricate, very well done. Small blade at the front of his forearm armor. Big spikes here. Looks like sort of a meat cleaver or something. He's got more armor here. And then his legs, different armor on the shins. It kind of reminds me of Spawn. This one's a lot bigger, curved up his knee. This one's a little bit smaller. Figure does have double-jointed knees and double-jointed elbows. Cloth soft goods cape. It's actually all pretty well done. But the whole idea of Superman in big bulky armor is kind of ridiculous, as he is purely invincible. But there is sort of a logical explanation from the comic. And here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now when I first saw this figure announced, I thought, why would I need Superman in a big, bulky armored suit? It doesn't even really make sense. But when I found out the armor was removable, it made the figure that much more appealing to me. Now, I can see the quote-unquote cool factor of Superman in an armored suit, but it's not very practical. Now, in the comic, Superman started off with a regular, traditional Superman suit. And then he had to go into the Phantom Zone, and he wore this armored suit that the figure is currently wearing, the blue, sort of textured armor suit on this guy, because I guess he was going to be sort of like non-corporeal in the Phantom Zone, and he used this armor. And then while inside of there, he sort of had additional armor go on top to help him with a situation where he needed a breathing apparatus. No real explanation, just one panel. He's in this blue suit here. Next panel, he has all this armor on there, and there's a little throwaway line, but does not go into a lot of detail about the bulky armor, but goes into some detail about the blue armored suit he's wearing right now. Still, the fact that this armor is removable is a really cool feature for this figure. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, looks like kind of a mean, serious Superman. He still has that curl at the top, at least a little bit, and he has this big scar on the left side of his face. It is a pretty good head sculpt. The scar gives him a lot of personality. This Superman is a warrior between the scar and the armor, you know that. Now let's check out his accessories. Let's start off with the boring stuff. Here's a display stand, typical McFarlane stand we've seen a million times before. It's a black circle, very thin, very basic, but it gets the job done. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Superman from Superman Ghosts of Krypton. Superman, he has his armored suit here, at least the blue version. Backside, there is a description. If you want to read that, pause now. And then we have this comic book. Superman Ghosts of Krypton #1. I believe this is made by McFarlane's team. Superman Ghost of Krypton, number 1 of 4. Here's Superman in his blue armored suit. He's in the sky, satellite around him. Backside says DC. As you open it up, he starts off in his regular suit, Superman. As the issue progresses, he eventually has to go to the Phantom Zone. And then he has his little robot design and make this armored suit for him. And that's the story of the blue one. And then in issue number, I believe, 3, it starts off with Superman still in that armor, and then bam, all of a sudden he's in this armor because the atmosphere on the ship, you need a breathing apparatus. Doesn't really explain all the rest, but he uses it to fight and crash through things. Here's a look at Superman Ghost of Krypton, numbers 1 through 4. Each figure comes with a corresponding comic, and I'm sure you can tell which figure comes with which comic. Now it's really cool, they actually give us 4 different issues, so we have a whole story to explain this wave of figures. The previous couple waves of Page Punchers had 4 different cover variations of the same issue. And before that, they even had the same covers of only issue number 1. Now we have a full story to tell. Now the only thing I think they could still do better with the comics is give the Platinum Chase variants a cover variant of sorts. They did that with some of the previous waves, but not this one. Just duplicate covers of Val-Zod and Brainiac. Now let's look at his big bulky armor suit. There are a total of 7 pieces, and they're all removable. Now, I'm really happy that the armor is removable, because if it wasn't, would have just made the figure a lot less exciting and less desirable. I could even see people buying 2 of this figure, one to display without the armor, and one to display with the armor on. Now the armor itself is put together with these little sort of clips. On the back here, you can bend it, and it has sort of a male and female piece. Once you put it on his leg, sort of snap that in place, and from what I've experienced so far, it actually stays on the figure pretty nicely. So it's a pretty nice design. I've seen a lot of things like that, where it's a rubbery piece, and you have a male piece that plugs into a female piece, and they just don't plug in good, or they don't stay in good, etc., etc. This seems pretty well done from that point of view. Here's Superman in his blue armored suit without the big bulky armor on, and here he is with the bulky armor attached. Now, I haven't actually read the comics, just haven't had time yet, so I skimmed them over. Maybe there's a little more of an explanation, but it looks quote-unquote cool. Now, in order to swap the armor, most of the pieces just sort of clip off. This part here can just slide over his head. And then this part here was kind of tricky, the breathing apparatus. Now you have to pop his head off, at least I don't see any other way to do it. And it was pretty hard to pull his head off, so I questioned if I was doing it right or not, but I'm pretty sure it's the only way. Now, the best way is going to be slide this armor, get it out of the way, take the guy, hold him very firmly, pull the head off. This piece comes off, remove it, and bam, you can pop the head right back on. Then you won't have the breathing apparatus, so there's a lot of different customizable, different display options. Now I wanted to do a few different head swaps on this armored body. I can't remember all the requests that I've had. But here's the death metal head on this guy, and I'll tell you, it doesn't really fit on there quite right, and it's because of the long hair, it just kind of gets in the way and doesn't allow it to sit in quite the way I'd like it to. Here he is, with the Death and Return of Superman mullet head. That's that big, bulky, swole body. And here he is with the Action Comics 1000 Superman head, a more traditional Superman head on this armored body. And then, just because, here's this sort of angry, stern, scarred Superman head on top of the Death and Return big, bulky body. Looks pretty good. And they have both Superman, Clark Kent, Kal-El, and then the Val-Zod Superman, both in the blue armored suit, and they pretty much have 100% the same sculpt. So let's take a look at them. Obviously their heads are completely different. As we go further down, the armored suit looks to be exactly the same. We have the Superman logo here, the armor, the different texturing. This guy has a different set of hands. He has armor on his hands, and he has ungloved hands. The belt's the same. Even the legs are the same, although painted a little bit differently. The cape is even the same. So it's 100% the same figure, different head. But this one here, they just slapped some old hands on there. And I hate this pair of hands. I think they look very ugly. And now to check out the differences between the bulky armored Superman and the Platinum Chase bulky armored Val-Zod. And to my surprise, the armor is not exactly the same. I figured it was the same, just repainted differently. So, the breathing apparatus is probably the same. Now, the shoulder pads are completely different. You can see there are some similarities. You know what? They're very similar, but they are different. This one has a spike in the middle, this one doesn't. This side is completely different. Then we got the gloves, completely different on both sides. The chest armor, that part is also different. I can see tubes and stuff here that I can't see on his, at least not the same. The sort of crotch piece, that does look to be the same. And then the boots, also considerably different. So, pretty impressed they didn't just slap the same thing on, paint it with like a gray purple here, silver gold here, call it a day. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his accessories, now for his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's a really tall figure, staying about 7.75 inches tall, which can translate to 19.5 centimeters. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head, of course, it can rotate from side to side, so it's very tight there. Looks up and down about that much. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, on a ball joint, goes out a tiny bit less than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got this butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest area, increasing the range of motion and covering that large gap that would be there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrists can rotate, and it's hinged as well. Torso, he's got a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one in his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion in the torso area. Legs, almost complete as splits, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is minimal at best. His legs go forward about that far, go to the side, go forward a little bit more. Back, not much. Double jointed knees, and then his ankles, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and of course, toe articulation. Here's a look at Superman in this big, bulky armored suit, busting through a wall. We have the ruins of Metropolis and the Daily Planet all around him. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane Superman figures. Here he is, next to the Action Comics number 1000 Superman. This is McFarlane's first Superman figure, and still damn near my favorite, a traditional looking Superman figure. And here he is, next to both the Rebirth and Hush Superman. These both use the infected body. Then, with the Page Punchers and DC Classic Superman. And now, with the Crisis on Infinite Earth Superman. Can't wait to see this body used on a new Superman figure. And here he is, next to my most recent Superman figure. This is the Platinum Chase variant of the red and blue Energy Superman from JLA. Now this is not the first time that McFarlane has released an armored Superman figure. Here he is next to 3 different versions of Superman in his Unchained armor. Here's a look at every single McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figure before this new one. There are a total of 37 of them in front of you. Now, I added the Page Puncher version and the Plastic Man Wave JLA version. I have the red one of that, and the blue one should be coming tomorrow. So if you add those 3 in, McFarlane has released a total of 40 different Superman figures in their DC Multiverse line. Quite impressive. Now let's check him out next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is with the rest of this Page Puncher wave. Superman themed wave. We have Brainiac, both regular and Platinum Chase variant. Superman, Val-Zod Superman, both Platinum and regular. And then Ghost of General Zod. Here's the Superman, next to the Target exclusive Cassandra Cain Batgirl, and Rival. And here he is, next to the most recent Batman wave. We have the Night's End Azrael, both the red and the platinum blue version. Then we have the black and gray Nightfall Batman. And the first appearance Detective Comics 27 Batman, both the platinum and regular versions. Then, next to the JLA wave, Collector Build Plastic Man. This is the Platinum Chase variant of Superman, Aquaman, and Jon Stewart. The regular ones were supposed to arrive today, but it looks like it'll be tomorrow at best. And now, with the digital wave, we have the DC Rebirth Batman, the Silver Age Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and the DC Classics Aquaman. Here's the Superman, next to the Amazon exclusive Kilowog and Kyle Rayner Green Lantern 2-pack. And here he is, next to the Walmart exclusive Wally West Flash and DC vs. Vampires Nightwing. Then, with the Entertainment Earth exclusive Curse of the White Knight Sketch Azrael, and the Amazon exclusive glow-in-the-dark Parallax Hal Jordan, and now with the GameStop exclusive DC Rebirth Frostbite Batman, and the Arkham Knight Batman in his prestige suit, and finally, here he is next to the Crisis on Infinite Earths wave. We have Superman, both versions of Spectre, Regular and Platinum Chase, Monitor, Psycho Pirate, and Wally West Kid Flash. There is a Platinum Chase variant of Psycho Pirate out there, and I believe the EQL drawing will start in a couple days. Hopefully, I can get one of those as well. Now let's check him out. Next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you know lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. And I'm going to include as many Superman figures as I can during these comparisons. Since we already checked him out, next to a bunch of other McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figures, here he is next to some more McFarlane toys. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all McFarlane toys, all 7-inch scale. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures, and some DST or Diamond Select toys, here's Superman next to a bottle of bleach. And here he is next to some DC Direct and NECA Superman figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures, and now with some Mezco and Mattel Superman figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends, and finally with some SH Figure Arts and some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it is a cool Superman figure. When I first saw him, I was kind of like, do I really need a big bulky armored Superman? And the answer is no, not really. But you could say this is a Kryptonian armor, and that kind of makes sense because Superman's Kryptonian. He would perhaps need armor to fight other Kryptonians, that sort of stuff. The sculpt is fantastic on this guy. The articulation, it's good, but a little bit limited. The ankles, they bother the hell out of me. This guy's very top-heavy. He wants to fall forward sometimes. Ankles are done with the old ball joints, and it's hard to get him to kind of sit exactly the way you want to stand him upright. But the sculpt is great on both his blue armor and the outer gold and silver armor. And the armor pieces come off and come back on in a pretty nice way. They stay on stable. Those little plugs that are rubbery, they fit into each other very nicely. No issues there. It's kind of hard to get his head off. Just tug on a little bit. His accessories, well, he doesn't have any traditional accessories, but he has the armor pieces, which are actually pretty cool. Cooler than I anticipated. I thought it would be stupid, but I actually like it. I don't know how much I would like it if the armor was stuck on there, but the fact that you have 2 different options really brings this figure to another level. Articulation, good, not great. Sculpt and paint job, excellent. If I were to rate this figure, when I first looked at him, I thought maybe he's going to get a 6, but having him in hand, probably going to give him a 7.5. Enjoying him a lot more than I expected. That face sculpt with the scar is also very nice, and I think it'd be very useful for Superman head swaps and customs, etc., etc. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.